very first capital on stage, it must have been, looking for some guidance, probably 4.5 years ago or so, when it was kind of brand new. And it's amazing to see how it's really grown up into being across the world. So my name is Sean. I'm with a venture fund called ProFounders Capital. We set up about 5.5 years ago because we saw the opportunity to invest in early stage companies in Europe, and B, we wanted to create a fund that we hope would provide real value, and we think has provided real value to the companies that we invest in. And so what we did, we went out and we only raised money from successful entrepreneurs. So people that have built companies, exited them, and the idea is that they are there to help out for the next generation of founders. Now, they might not have built the exact same kind of business that you've built, but the reality is, and what we believe, is that the underlying building blocks, how you create a company, are actually quite similar. So how you put in place structure, how you create the organization, how you incent people, how you strike business partnerships, all of that can be shared. There's a lot of learnings that go back and forth from one generation to the next generation. So what do? We've made 28 investments, average investment of around £700,000, €1 million, well that's probably falling or raising, by whatever the moment it is right now, across Europe into digital businesses. So e-commerce and marketplace models, games and games infrastructure, and SaaS companies. And really, what is our role as investors and for the founders? Creating a company is really hard. And the one thing that we know that you have to keep doing is raising more money. There is always, always, always another round of financing to come. And so as investors, we want to help you guys make those hard trade-offs between where you invest your people, your money, and your time to maximize the chance of creating a really good story to be able to raise that next round of financing. And our portfolio has now raised $330 million in follow-on financing, and a lot of that's actually come from US investors. So we've raised money from companies, not me. The companies raised money from Andreessen Horowitz, Founders Fund, Venrock, Spark Capital, and others. So we think one of the ways to overcome the lack of capital in Europe is to connect to the US and let them, educate them about European opportunities to help the companies grow and expand. And you can take a look at our website and we think the portfolio looks great. As it turns out, not every company turns into an amazing one, but we understand that, and so do founders when we invest. Now, the very first time I was at Capital on Stage, I compared founders to rock stars, so I thought there were a lot of similarities. Last time in London, I took a look at a fantastic entrepreneur and some of his quotes out there. That was Jay-Z, and I ended up rapping on stage. And so it's really hard to rap again or do anything like that. But, you know, I was, a couple weeks ago, rereading a book, and there's a movie as well that came out about it, by Mario Puzo called The Godfather. I don't know if you guys, who's seen the movie The Godfather? So good, most everyone have read the book. And so I was struck by the similarities between what Don Corleone did in creating a business and what founders have to do as well. And so I thought I'd pull out a few quotes from the movie, from the book, that I thought summed up the entrepreneurial experience actually quite well. So I've got 7 of them I'd like to read. By the way, this is all tongue-in-cheek. I'm not implying that founders are like monsters. But number 1 is a great quote. It says, "Great men are not born great, they grow great." Great men are not born great, they grow great. And I think that's true for founders as well. No one is born a great founder. You put in the time, the energy, the effort, the hard work, the blood, sweat, and tears. And that's how you become a great founder. Number 2, the operational style of how the Don ran his company. I think there's some learnings there for founders. Number 1, Mr. Corleone is a man who insists on hearing bad news immediately. And I think for founders as well, that is the way they should operate. They should understand everything that is going in the business, and especially the bad things, right? Next quote. "Never hate your enemies. It affects your judgment." And I think that is true. We all want to take down Google and Amazon and Microsoft and Facebook and these kind of companies. But they're also really good, smart companies. We need to be on top of what they're doing. Operational style as well. Now listen, I want somebody good, and I mean very good, to plant that gun. I don't want my brother coming out of the toilet with just his dick in his hands. You got me? And that's about it as well. You've got to be perfect at operational skills. You've got to push forward very aggressively and execute perfectly. Now, I know I'm running out of time, so I'm going to be very quick on the next quotes. So the other thing is that the Don was very forward-looking, and the family was very forward-looking. Now we have the unions, we have the gambling, and they're the best things to have, but narcotics is a thing of the future. And if we don't get a piece of that action, we risk everything we have. I mean, not now, but 10 years from now. You always got to be thinking ahead about where the business needs to be. Of course, you want to exit as well. and they'll make you an offer you can't refuse. And finally, one last thing. You're entrepreneurs. It's in your blood. So to quote Michael Corleone in the third one, just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in again.